generate executable code from the abstract syntax tree, she decided to generate code in a simple stack-based virtual machine language. Her code generator worked the arithmetic syntax tree and translated it into virtual machine language. Okay, machine language. Her code generator worked, okay, that is machine instructions. Then the last part was talking about testing and debugging. She wrote test programs in her custom language, compiled them, and ran the generated code on her virtual machine. Debugging was a significant part at this level. So after months of hard work, Emma successfully built a simple compiler for her custom programming language. It was a testament to her understanding of compiler design principles from lexical analysis to code generation. While her compiler was not as powerful as the commercial ones, it was a substantial achievement. So this project marked the beginning of Emma's exploration into the world of compilers, and she was eager to continue refining her skills and knowledge. Compiler design was indeed a complex field, but Emma was ready for the challenge, knowing that her journey had only just begun. So the first question I asked was, what was the job of the lexer and the parser in Emma's project? And the second question was, what was the purpose of testing and debugging in Emma's project? And each of those had 10 marks. So I expected you to define the lexer and also to relate it to the problem that Emma was trying to solve. And the importance of the lexer, understanding the lexemes and the tokens that are generated, and after the tokens are translated into etc that you need to describe in your answer. So you basically was supposed to describe this in order for you to get the full 10 marks, and I'm yet to see what everyone managed to describe. I don't expect people to have the same reasoning here because this is something coming from a real life kind of issue. So I don't expect people to have the same statements or the reasoning. It shouldn't be. However, different reasonings will all be true depending on your understanding of the Lexa and its contribution in the chain of building uh, a compiler code, basically. So basically, that is within the test. The test that I gave. What we are left with, I just wanted to brief you about those, and then we shall see next week, because what we're left with is really very small. So if everyone was still on CLAN, if people were not kicked off, we would be looking at error detection and recovery in compiler design. We are left with, let me share this. And on the platform, you have the notes there. But entire screen, no window. Can this be visible? Yeah, the important parts of what we need to cover, what we're left with. We have error detection and recovery, and we have it in part 1 and part 2 of say lecture 5 and 6, something like that. And then we have language processors. We shall be looking at language processors. And those are 2 classes. There are about 3 classes, so I'll be having another PowerPoint, having a bit of like lecture 8 and 9 and 10. So about only 4 lectures that are left. And if this is 23rd, so we shall be having 30th and 6th and 13th, and we shall be done around 13th here. And the rest we shall be revising through and understanding more of the concepts until when I know when you're going to be doing your exam. And you may be having cut too somewhere, somehow, somewhere. However, everything will be coming within what we've covered within. Nothing is going to be coming from outside. I'll be setting real life where I test your understanding of the different parts of compiler design. as that is the objective, basically, to understand how to get to attempt some of these questions. So basically, that is what I wanted to talk about. If you've not yet submitted your Cat 1, look more into the questions and make sure you're describing, you're not giving a list of just an answer or two. You will not get the 10 marks of the question 1 and question 2. You need to describe and show your understanding based on Emma's procedure of building a compiler, a simple compiler design. Basically, that's it. Do you have any question there?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, Daniel, I can.
Yeah, maybe for me on my side, when I'm doing some revision,
Yeah,
especially compare design,
yeah.
yeah, the truth, it's somehow complicated. It's really hard. It needs you more really to understand.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just not matter of just reading and leave it there. Because even our testers tested us that there's a tough in a head.
Mm,
So, but for me, the only thing I need you to, because I'm very sure that you know the approach and because this is this is
mm,
your expertise. So
mm,
I wanted you to tell us, or maybe to guide us, how really we can go ahead if we are doing a revision, what really can help us, or maybe
mm,
it needs for us to give us maybe a question or maybe a real example of how they
mm,
test or are going to be test or how you're going to be sending or setting the questions, so that
mm,
maybe at least we get ready and so that we don't look as in the real exams.
mm. Okay. Yes, what you've mentioned is very true. Now I'll get back to lecture 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So compiler design, compiler construction, even if you consult it, it's actually the hardest. How should I say hard? Let me see. It's not hard. It's because hard means that you've not well understood something. That's when you're gonna call it hard. I'll say that it's complex. It's the most complex subject in computer science. Yeah, because complexity means there are so many iterations that you need to follow step by step in order to understand the story of the associations in any issue. So if something is complex, that means it has so many associations, and something to be called hard, that means you've not understood how to go by this issue here to understand it much better. Now, the thing is, how to understand a complex subject like compiler construction, you have to go back to lecture 1. Now, my lectures are following the right procedure for compiler design. I did this myself because I didn't want to pick people's content. Now, you need to go back to lecture 1. If you look at lecture 1 will define for you compiler design, and it will tell you its objective and what you're supposed to understand. It will tell you that it gives an in-depth view of translation and optimization processes, and it will tell you that it covers basic translation mechanisms, error detection and recovery, and etc. It will tell you that it talks about lexical, syntax, and semantic analysis as a front end, and also code generation and optimization as a back end. Now, as a student, as someone who is trying to understand the subject, first of all, do make a note of what is a front end and what is in the back end. Understand, make a note of the lexical, the syntax, and the semantic analysis as front end. Make a note of that in your book. Then later, put a note of code generation and optimization as a back end. Now, the question on ground is, do you understand what lexical is, syntax, and semantic analysis? The other question is, what comes before the other? The other question is, what is composed in lexical? What is within syntax? Syntax can be self-descriptive because you hear syntax, so you know that the compiler, there's going to be some bit of checks of the syntax and etc. Lexical, unless you've read and you understand this generation of lexemes that are converted into tokens, then you're on the right track. So you need to go to chapter 1, to lecture 1, read the first level, understand the front end, back end, look at the hierarchy, look at a preprocessor, compiler, assembler, linker, loader, memory, and then how do these relate to the subject, and why are they important to the subject? What is an assembler anyway? When we're talking about source code and push to the preprocessor, how helpful is the preprocessor, and why do we push the source code to the preprocessor? Then this preprocessor gets this code to the compiler, and then the compiler prepares the target assembly code to the assembler, and then we are seeing the relocatable machine code to the linker. A linker can be self-descriptive because it's more like a pointer that points to a particular address, and we are seeing library files and modules within the linker. So basically you need to understand every level and then go step by step, understanding one level and how it relates to another, what is pushed to the next level. Now, what makes compiler construction easy is when you've read and you understand how it flows. Now, the moment you understand how it flows from the top level to the last level down, then nothing is going to disturb you. If I set for you in a real life issue, you're going to understand, no matter where it falls, you'll understand that at the first level, we have the lexical analyzer where the source code enters from. We're having a syntax analyzer, semantic analyzer, intermediate code generation, machine independent code generation, optimizer, sorry, then code generator, and then machine dependent code optimizer. Now, when I said for you how the semantic analyzer was important to a project of ABCD, you already know what a semantic analyzer is, and you can easily think and say, yeah, according to the definition and some of the functions at this level of the semantic analyzer, this is how it can be helpful to that project. And that is the how-to that a student is supposed to pick from a subject, understanding the application of something, from its definition. So basically, you need to go back to the tree where we're talking about the lexical analyzer up to the machine dependent code optimizer and make a deeper kind of understanding. Now, you need to make more utilization of the internet plus YouTube plus ChatGPT, in your learning to see that you understand things in depth. In most cases, a lecturer in class having 2 hours to cover a subject, whereby is required to cover 75% of the coverage in the curriculum, it will be very hard for him to give you above even 75%, though I always try to see that I do that, but it's really very hard. So basically, answering your question, that is what you require to do, Daniel, is to go back. It is very tricky if I set for you a real life question and it's your first time to look at lecture 1 or 2 or 3, and maybe you jump to lecture 5. With compiler design, you will be confused 100%. Unless you've tackled lecture 1, you can never understand lecture 3, 2, even 5. That is for compiler. Subjects like networks, whatever, those ones you can jump to even the last lecture and you understand lecture 1 and 2 and 3. Those ones are just, random subjects. Anyway, I've answered you. Any other question anyone may have? You're welcome, Daniel. Okay, and the other thing is compiler design is just straightforward and straightforward. It's even a subject someone can cover in 2 months or 1 month if they wish, depending on the students and how fast they capture things. But we shall keep on going back and forth because we're going to have extra time before you do your exam. I don't know when Cat 2 is, but even right now you're ready for Cat 2 because I would set a real life question still from lecture 1 and up to like lecture 4, and it's still testing, the core parts of compiler design, and you're really good to go there. Okay, let me say good morning to Alexandra. Alexandra, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, sir.
Okay, I wanted to make sure that you're not looking the other side. Maxine, how are you? Okay, that's great. And also Majok. Okay. Okay, have a great morning. If you have any issue, you can just DM and send me, a message on WhatsApp. We shall study next week physically. Let me say Monday. What is it gonna be? It's gonna be 30th. Yeah, we shall study physically on Monday next week, and I expect everyone to be around on Monday. Have a great morning, and it's 23rd. I'm very soon. I'm gonna be eating your money, so take some time and revise my work. Bye.